Hello everyone, and this is a Geek Must Have product review. Actually, a couple of products being reviewed, but primarily the item being reviewed is this little portable USB soldering gun. Basically, this soldering iron was purchased from AliExpress, and it is an 8-watt portable USB electric powered soldering iron with a touch switch, and the cost of it was $4.45, shipped to the door. Gun. Basically, you plug this into a USB power pack, and when you touch on this little button, it stays on for about 30 seconds for you able to be doing some soldering. I'm interested to see how quickly it heats up, how well it solders, and to do that, I'm basically going to cut the barrel plug off of this old Plantronics 12 volt 300 milliamp. Cut this off and solder it on the end of this 9 volt battery box, which I got in, so that I can power up a MCU, a NodeMCU board that I got, and just see if it works. So it's a combination of a number of things all together. I'll also be using this XIT charger. It says its output is 5 volts at 1 amp, and it has a solar panel on the outside that's supposed to charge it up. I think that the soldering iron will probably take more than an amp, so it'll probably peak this thing out. So I'll probably have to have another one handy just in case. We're going to plug power meter into the side here. We'll plug the soldering iron cable into it. Funny thing about this soldering iron, it's got a USB to be plugged into the power bank, and it's got a standard 3.5 millimeter stereo jack. I don't know why you need to have 3 conductors for a simple power, unless it has some type of current sensing thing in there, which for what I paid for it, I doubt it. The unit is charged up at 100%, it's showing a 5 volt output, nothing actually being drawn on it yet. We'll take the tip of this off. I found out that if you unscrew this thinking you're unscrewing the cap, what happens is you're unscrewing the element from the inside. The cap just kind of pulls off. Yep, this unit is definitely overpowering this. Turn this on, the minute I touch the pad on it, it blanks right out. We will have to try a different power bank. 1 amp of power. I don't know what these would be good for. Maybe charging a cell phone once. Let's go to my trusty Gorilla. It's got about 17% power left. It needs to be charged as well. So we'll plug it in, and it has output of 2100 milliamps or 2.1 amps, which is a bit better. Let's see what happens. 4.9 volts, 1.4 amps, almost what I expected it to be. Try to clean this. I know a lot of people like to use sponges. Never quite understood that, but it is on, and let's see if we get any smoke. Ah, we're getting smoke, and we're getting solder sticking to the actual tip of the gun. Okay, that's pretty good. I'll put it over here. It goes out, goes back down to 0, so maybe about 20 seconds. So what we're going to do is we are going to cut off about, I don't know, yeah, about a foot of the end of the Plantronics brick, and the Plantronics brick is going to go to its final resting place, the trash heap. So we will strip the wires off of the end of this. Strip the wires off of the end of this. I'm going to make the assumption that there's 2 sides of this. There's a striped side and a plain side. I'm going to take a wild stab that the striped side is the center positive. Could be wrong. And if I am, I'll blow everything up. I had second thoughts about not verifying things. I'm going to use my Innova self-ranging meter to make certain that the white wire is indeed, which it is. The white wire is the center, which is positive. We will be able to solder those to this. So red is the positive on there. It's the positive on the battery box. Even that I'm not sure of, so I am going to take... Yeah, these aren't the easiest thing. Ah, there we go. That's a nice snap fit. I mean, I'm pretty certain the battery's not going to come apart on this one, so... There we go. And we'll also be able to check the on-off switch. Meter time again. Switch to DC voltage. And let's see what we got. It's on. We got 9.55 volts roughly. Turn the switch off. Turn the switch off. Oh, it's measuring millivolts now. 30 millivolts. It does appear to be positive, and everything jives. So, next step is to slip some shrink wrap over these wires, so that after I solder them, I'll be able to shrink wrap them, and maybe they'll not short out to each other. I know this is a real simple project, but it's a test of a number of things all together. And we'll take the white wire here, attach it to the red wire here. Twist it really well. And now the true test. So there it is. So 4.88 volts on the meter itself, and I'm getting down in 14% range on the battery pack. It's been 10 seconds, and it does seem to be soldering. Alright. There's the soldering connection. Did a fairly good job. Solder it again from the other side. Still reading 1.44 amps. Get the second wire put into place. The black is going to the non-white wire. Pretty simple. We'll solder that one with the USB powered soldering gun. I gotta admit, this is pretty impressive. I forgot what I paid for this, but as a portable device to be able to do soldering, doesn't seem to get the whole wire, but for small circuits this is probably fine. And my first official solder splatter from the USB device. And there it is, it's shut down. It's 5.12 volts. I'm still at 14% on the Gorilla and no amperage, so I'm not using any power. So let's finish this up. We'll slip some heat shrink tubing over both of these. Individually, they each have their own heat shrink tubing. I'm a big believer in redundancy. So we'll use Mr. Magical Butane Torch. I got a bunch of these from a dealer who said they were going to give me a gift, and the gift was a little tag on here that says smile. But these are nice refillable butane lighters. They really throw out quite a flame. And it helps to shrink that shrink tubing down. Here are the connections. Basically soldered with my USB gun using my brand new battery pack and a salvaged barrel jack. And over those two, what I'll do is I'll slip another piece of shrink tubing over them to shrink tube the whole mass together. Mr. Torch does a great job. There is the finished connector. Now I'm curious whether it will work or not. So Here's my brand new NodeMCU development board. It's got an MCU ESP8266 processor on it, and a little Arduino. The programming jack is over here, and then there's some pins over here. There's a 3-volt pin there and a 5-volt pin there. I have to do a little bit more research on this, but on the back of the board it says 6 volts to 24 volts. I think 9 volts falls in between there. Here is my 9-volt power bank. I'm going to plug it in. I'm going to turn the switch on. And let's hope we don't get any flames. So there's the Wi-Fi board. Up. It blinked. And the little LED here in the corner says that I have voltage. And the board itself blinked, which is supposed to mean it kind of went through its boot process. But there's nothing on here, I think, unless there's something on here from when they did the testing in China. That's the test of my new battery-powered USB soldering iron. This is pretty nice. I include this in my kit. It probably does take battery packs with more than an amp. It's an 8-watt soldering iron, I remember that, and that's plenty for most small circuits. I also got to test out my new 9-volt power supply. I like these little boxes. They make the 9-volt battery nice and sturdy, and it gives you an on-off switch that you can turn the circuit on and off with. I don't know how well the MCU is going to work. I'm going to be playing with those in the next videos. I'm going to be switching over to probably Raspberry Pis for a little bit. There's been some recent announcements about from Adafruit about the Raspberry Pi Zero W, which is the Raspberry Pi wireless. One of the things you almost always do if you have a Raspberry Pi Zero is you add some type of wireless connector to it if you're going to make it an Internet of Things project, which meant you have to have a shield that goes on top of it. So I guess the Arduino people heard the people talk and said, yeah, we'll make a Raspberry Pi, not an Arduino. We'll make a Raspberry Pi that has the wireless right on the board, and that's called the Raspberry Pi Zero W. They're out of stock, but I hope to be able to order one soon. I enjoyed making this video and playing with that soldering iron. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe learned something from it as well. If you liked this video, then click on the like button. If you have any questions or suggestions, please put them in the comments section below. I'd like to ask you if you could give the geek a hand and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. Now, take a little time off and build something. I have no idea, but it'll be something.